Oh, there we go.
Right. Okay.
Oh, we're in business now.
Yeah. Right. Hello, everybody. Tim Hughes here. I'm here with Gary Roth. Gary and I are going to talk about how, if you've got no social media presence at all, how you can actually get on social and start enjoying it and actually getting some benefit from it. But before we get on to that, Gary, can you just let everybody know where they can get hold of you on social?
Absolutely right. Thanks, Tim, for having me on. Blue Collar Consulting Group is the name of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and I have a YouTube channel. And of course, I have a website and a blog, but Blue Collar Consulting Group is the name of the game. My handle on a lot of those is at BCCG, which stands for Blue Collar Consulting Group _Main, like Main Street. So Blue Collar Consulting Group, you can probably find me. And
you're very active on social, I must admit, because I've found you on social. You're very active on LinkedIn. Yeah. So tell everybody about your story, because you're sitting there in a uniform. So maybe you've been to a fancy dress party or.
Well, not quite. I wish that that was the case. I've been in the Army for over 20 years, a mixture of active and reserve time. I'm currently on active duty right now. I started Blue Collar Consulting Group back in 2014. I just had this interest in making things better and process improvement and stuff like that. My first job in the Army was to defuse bombs, and so you had to learn how to reverse engineer and break things down. And I just felt like people trudge through life, you know, Tim, and just don't ever try to make things better. And I just kind of, you know, got started on that premise. And then lately, especially definitely in the last year or so, I've been fascinated with social media, how it builds businesses, how people use it, and how people can really maximize with it. Because I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's here. The internet is in its maturity, and I'm just amazed at how some people can go so far with it, and yet some people struggle with it massively. So that's kind of my story, and that's kind of why we're talking today.
Yeah, because you were talking about we had a call before this, and you were talking about how you saw someone from a real estate company that had started on, was it Instagram or something, and you thought, hey, this is really great, this is a game changing, and then they did like 8 posts and then they stopped.
You're exactly right. It was on YouTube, actually. Right. This very and I don't mean to be shallow, but this very beautiful woman who looks very good on a camera or on a video or whatever had done 4 or 5 videos 7 years ago, got a couple of 100 views on each, and then that was it, and just completely gave up on it and never did it again. And yet she's still in the real estate business, and she just never took it any further, and inspired me too. And then on the negative side of things, on Facebook, I get probably 3 or 4 invites per day, maybe 10 or 12 a week, of real estate agents that want me to like their Facebook page. Now I'll go on there, and it is literally the same thing in and every day, the same type of posts, the same lack of engagement, and I would imagine on their end the same level of frustration.
I mean, I get an awful lot of people, especially with Facebook posts, where it's like, buy this, buy my product, buy my product, and I'm not interested.
That's it. Yeah, they're always going for that, you know, that big uppercut, when they should be, you know, jabbing. They should be building their brand. They should be building their reputation with social media. And then, you know, you don't walk up to a girl at a party and say, hey, can we get married? Or, you know, somebody that you're interested in. You've got to build up to that a little bit, and yet we throw that out the window.
So how did you get started then?
Well, really, I just the interest grew over time, and I had some friends that have small businesses. A friend of mine here in Georgia, where I was stationed by the Army, he's got a small wood shop.
Yeah,
and him and I, over really the course of a weekend, we tripled his audience on Instagram. He got 3 or 4 orders in 48 hours of some of the things that we were tinkering with.
So how did you do that? What was it that you did in that
Well, first, let's start with Instagram. You know, I look at people that have a talent that can sing or that do woodworking or do lawn care or whatever else. Like that to me is a talent.
Yep.
And when you have a talent, my talent is furthering that. So what we did with this particular wood shop was he was putting up great pictures. But he was not using all 30 hashtags that you're allowed on Instagram. Yep. So like we spoke on the phone, I told him to do 10, 10, and 10. So 10 specific for woodworking, yep. Hashtag wood shop, hashtag table saw, whatever. I told him to do 10 hashtags that just go around that circle a little bit, like hashtag do it yourself, hashtag home improvement, whatever. And then other ones I just did, kind of wild ones, hashtag personal project, hashtag, beautiful, whatever, something a little wild. And what that does, that gives you 3 circles of discoverability. And it's doubtful that somebody's going to look on the motivational hashtag and then see your cutting board and then order a cutting board. However, do you really want to run the risk of not being discovered? So with that in of itself, we did 3 posts that way over the course of the weekend. Now, granted, he only had like 100 followers, but by Monday afternoon, he had 415. And I think, if I'm correct, it's been about 3 or 4 months now, and he's over 1,000 followers on Instagram.
Right. And for those and for those watching that may not know about social media, the way that Instagram works is that you post a picture and what you do, and you have hashtags. So you don't necessarily need to comment, and the way that it's driven and the way that people find you and the way that people is totally through hashtags. And I love your way of having the circle of what it's about around it, and then a bit further out. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's just it, Tim. And to be honest with you, learning social media, I mean, there is some trial and error, and every platform has its own language. Like we spoke on the phone, we wouldn't go to France and expect to speak Russian there. So when we go into Instagram and we expect to use it like Facebook, it just doesn't work. And so, sure, there are some similarities. You can use a picture on every platform, but the way you present that picture is dramatically different. And so that's probably my first big bullet point, is that speak in the language of the platform.
And I think most platforms now have now embraced hashtags. And hashtags are a way of summarizing things. I usually use the example, if I posted a tweet or something which was to do with chocolate, I'd hashtag food. And there's loads around food because people post loads of stuff.
Yes.
Food, porn, foodie, et cetera, that you can, and then you could do restaurant or cafe or things like that in terms of your concentric circles.
Right.
And always on Instagram, the more hashtags you use, the more likely you're going to be found.
Absolutely right. Speaking of that, it's an interesting evolution of the hashtag. And for everybody that's new to social media, let's just set down just a couple of boundaries real quick. If you want to get discovered and followed on Instagram, use 30 hashtags every time. That's a great rule to use. If you want to get discovered on Instagram, 30 hashtags every time. On Twitter is incredibly interesting, and it has changed a little bit as well too. I wouldn't recommend loading up hashtags on Twitter. It makes it a little hard to read. It's still kind of text oriented there. But on Twitter, you want to have a couple relevant hashtags, and then it's important to know what's trending in Twitter to get noticed. So I would recommend on Twitter 5 or 6 hashtags at most, couple relevant, couple trending, whatever. Finally, on Facebook, 1 or 2 hashtags, just to kind of summarize it, like what you were saying. Hashtags don't get as much traction here in the United States on Facebook as it used to. No. But now LinkedIn is focusing on hashtagging as well. So that's a new development, I think, in the social media world. Now on Snapchat, it's kind of its own little animal. I don't quite see a lot of hashtagging. in Snapchat more so than I see it as a really like a direct communication platform, like
so
text
so if you were a small business, Gary, and a
yes.
real estate organization,
yep.
An accountancy, a wood shop, where would you focus your efforts?
Facebook, hands down Facebook, especially when it comes to relationship building. Now, I'll be honest with you, if you had a t-shirt company or if you were a painter or a photographer, Instagram. But in a majority of the cases where you have to work with people, especially in real estate, automotive sales, recruiting, etc., Facebook all the way. Facebook is still king because it allows you to reach out directly, start the communication. It allows people to see what you're doing. I would 100% focus on Facebook, but not in the way that a lot of people are doing, currently, like we spoke about.
And the important thing, I think, for everyone to understand is not to sell. Which is really difficult because we're all taught to sell from a very early age. You've got to sell yourself. You've got to stand up at the school. You've got to, and actually, people don't like being sold to.
They really don't. Especially in 2018, people do not like to be sold to. But the beauty of it is that if you can demonstrate competency in a particular area through helpful content, people will come to you naturally. The problem is people get worried and they just want to go right for the sell instead of slowing down, breaking down the process, and then attracting people through your content. And so, I mean, you've amassed a large Twitter following, mostly because of your willingness to give little tidbits and little pieces of information and things like that. And so people come to you wanting more. And so, when you write your book or when you have a property, you have a pre-established audience that will, take the actions that you would like for them to take.
Yes.
And so you and I are talking right now, essentially for free over, like, I'm on my phone, you're probably on a laptop or a computer.
Yep.
This is an outlet to the world that nobody can, limit or take away. So if you think that selling houses in a clown hat is your best way to do it, there's nobody there to stop you from doing that.
Yeah. And it gives you scale. But I think the thing that we always have to hold back on is this sales thing. I mean, what we do as an organization is that we put out a unique piece of content every single day. But the content isn't about by us. The content is about helping people in the realms of social media or social selling or digital or whatever. And I know there's people that are continually reading this stuff and are learning from it. And we're in a situation now where people, we get lots of referrals. So, if you want to know about this, you need to talk to these people because they've read our stuff.
That's it. And see, that all comes down to your reputation, right? Yeah.
And one of the things that we talked about, because I think quite often when people are starting on social, is that there's a reluctance because they don't think they're good enough.
Yeah.
And
very good.
Wherever we're doing, where we are in life, if we're doing, if we're real estate or if we're dry cleaners, I'm trying to use American terms rather than British terms.
That's all right. We appreciate it.
So I'm all of these things. You may not realize it, but if you've been in dry cleaning or real estate for 20 years, you're at the top of your game. There's nothing that about. There's nothing that you could be taught or learn more about real estate. And I'm as person that's actually going to buy a property, I know nothing. So you are the expert. And if I'm looking for a new house or a new apartment, then I'm going to be looking for an expert that's going to help me.
That's right.
And so by demonstrating online that you're an expert, I'm going to come to you.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely right. And Tim, that's an incredibly good point. And it's exactly what I told a real estate agent that I was working with too. I says, your knowledge, like in your examples, I mean, this guy had 15 or 16 years of experience. That's enough years of experience that you could generate years of content demonstrating not only your expertise, but also your approachability, your nurturing and things like that. Buying a home, laying out that kind of money or doing that kind of commitment it generates emotions in a human being.
Yes.
You're not a robot. Nobody's a robot. And so, like what you were saying, if you can demonstrate not only your expertise, but also your approachability and your trustworthiness, you can demonstrate that using social media tools in advance. And you can have people, much like you're in a great situation of referrals. That's what you can get on the real estate side as well. I mean, the traditional way is call your old customers, call lead sheets, put a sign in the front yard and wait. Now with social media properly done, you can go on the offensive. You can go out and put content out there that's discoverable. You can make your sign visible to the world instead of just people driving by a street.
Yeah. So my partner's 23-year-old son, he phones us up. Yeah, we didn't phone us up because he always talks on Facebook Messenger. And he's saying, how long does it take to buy and sell a house? Now Luke does everything online. Everything is through his mobile. Now he, if he's going to fix a puncture on a bicycle, he gets a YouTube video. Yeah, classic 23-year-old. Everything is driven online. Now, if you were a real estate agent, you could put out content that said, what does it take to buy and sell a house? How long does it take to buy and sell a house? The complications that you might expect, the pitfalls of how you might buy, all of these things. And Luke will go along online and he'll read all these things. And do you know who the first person he's going to contact when he's read all those things? The person that wrote them all.
That's exactly right.
Now he's 23. Exactly. He's actually bought his own flat, his own apartment. Now,
Great.
But he's now thinking, because he's earning, and he's thinking he might buy another one because he's going to rent one out or something like that. But if you think about the way that millennials are working, and these are not kids; these are people that are going online. They have money to spend, and
that's right, young adults.
Yes. And you can go online and you can get these people, and you can get them before the competition.
That's right. And when you position yourself properly, there is no competition. Because the real estate agents out in the world don't know what you're thinking. And when your search history says, I'm looking to buy, or what does it take to buy a house? How much money do I need? How much down payment do I need? Where do you go to buy a house? Things like that. They've got a readily available source to a guy or a gal, a person that's right in front of them that they can reach out to immediately.
Yeah.
And if the person on the other side of the camera is doing it right, then they're going to get a little ding on their phone. They're going to respond to the comment or the email immediately, because that's what millennials want, that immediate response. And then boom, they've set an appointment to look at houses. That's how easy it can be.
So one of the things that we talked about in our prep call was you set up this really nice process about how people can get on social and get used to social. Right. I don't know if you remember this, Gary. Okay,
I do.
Good.
Sure.
And we walked through a really nice little step-by-step process. And you talked about, especially for people of maybe my age who when we didn't grow up with video. We didn't really grow up with photos.
That's correct.
It's only something that's got, when we had photos, it was kind of a special occasion and the camera was brought out and,
Sure, of course. Yeah. Get the camera out. Yes. It's a big deal.
Yeah. Big deal. Yeah. And so quite a lot of us actually still feel uncomfortable in front of video and in front of photos. So you actually came up with a nice little step-by-step approach about how maybe a real estate agent could actually get off the ground and actually start doing this.
Absolutely right, and thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, the first thing I recommend is, you're exactly right. It's one of those things you're gonna have to bite the bullet. You're gonna have to start somewhere, and if it's you that's doing any type of relationship, you're gonna have to put yourself on camera. Now, the way I recommend it is start small. Okay, first of all, just start simple, like on a weekend when you're by yourself or with somebody that you trust, just take a selfie and then take a couple more selfies and then, take a goofy face selfie or whatever. So get used to just taking a selfie or two, make sure you're properly positioned in the camera, make sure the lighting is okay. And just take a selfie or two, have some fun. All right. Just kind of get used to it all by yourself. You don't have to do anything. And then when you feel comfortable with there, take a short video of yourself. You know, put the camera in selfie mode, take a little video, say hello, this is selfie. Get used to yourself on camera, get used to your voice sounding weird, you know, and then get used to seeing yourself. And that's that. So that's the internal stuff. Video is king. We know it. The content marketing requires video. It just does. I mean, we can get into podcasting, but that's a whole kind of different thing. But for social media, you need video. They need to see you talking. They need to see your face. I recommended to a client that on Monday, just jump on Facebook Live, no matter what, and just talk about something. Anything. It could be as little as 30 seconds. Just talk about traffic. Hey, guys, traffic is really bad on I-85. Ask a question. What do you do for traffic? Kind of build up some interaction. So just start very, very small. And then you build up a little bit more. And then you try to get on live, Facebook Live every day. And then you start planning ahead. And then you establish a time when you're going to be on. And so you inch your way into this stuff, and you just pick about anything you want to talk about. Like I suggested to the real estate agent, pull up to a property that's for sale, and you can go one of two ways. You can talk about all the good things of the property. Oh, wow. Look at this lawn and how it's perfectly done. Look at this porch. This thing has great curb appeal. Or you could go the other way. You could go negative. Wow, look at that gutter that's busted off. Wow, they need to cut the grass. Look at this huge pot in the hole in the driveway. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a house that's not ready to sell. And then, you know, you just kind of build that up, because that's naturally going to create questions and an urgency to contact you from people. They look at their house that's selling and say, oh man, hey, Gary, or real estate agent person, can you come and help me get my house?
Give me advice. I think I'm wanting to sell. And then you've got them before anybody else.
For anybody else. It plants the idea in their head. Exactly right. And so it just gives you the first shot. It allows you to demonstrate competency, and then people see you. I mean, they see you. You're not just a mysterious voice on a phone. You're not just a listing in a phone book, and you're not just the next agent that picks up the phone in the office. You've already started a relationship with a total stranger.
Okay, good. And you talk also about sending out some friend requests.
Absolutely. Oh, right. Yeah, I absolutely recommend. Facebook allows you to have 5,000 friends on your account. Okay, I recommend that you max that out, even on your personal account. I mean, if you choose to have a separate account for your business, that's fine. You can handle that however you wish. But I recommend right now today that if you want to grow your Facebook, if you want to grow your business, whatever you want to do, 25 friend requests a day. Start with your mutual connections. Just build off that. It'll balloon very, very rapidly. 25 a day, 10 or 15 will accept. And then in a few months, you'll have 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, whatever. And these are all people that have the potential to see what you're putting out. Facebook Live usually sends them a notification, because there's not a lot of people doing live still, which blows my mind. So a lot of people will see it and could react on it. Also, the video gets saved to your wall. People can watch it later. So going live on Facebook, sending out a few friend requests every single day, in no time, you'll have a very large audience. And as you get better, more people will see it, and it turns into this beautiful explosion of possibility.
So would you expect results straight away?
Oh, great question. No results right away. However, it could happen. But really, you know, that's a great question. I think if you went live every day for like a minute, 3-4 months, I really think you could start to see some flow back, especially when the same people are tuning into your videos. You know who, for the most part, you can see who's watching. You could write that down and contact them later if you want to go on the offensive. They can reach out to you in any manner of ways. You can obviously tell them your contact information, but people that I've contacted, they just contact me right on Facebook when my video is done. And so it's, 3 to 6 months is probably a good test to see if your messages are making any kind of difference whatsoever. Now, again, social media is a long game. You need to put out content, a little bit of content every day and just make it a part of who you are. And then the results will slowly build into consistency.
So if you read any of the Gary V books, I mean, everyone thinks that Gary V was an instant overnight success. And he says, no way. You know, I think he did like 1,000 YouTube videos until somebody actually spotted it.
That's right.
That's right. So this is my 64th podcast. I mean, it works for me because thing about YouTube is that one of the great things about YouTube is that actually people go on there searching for something, whereas with Twitter, Twitter and
it's second only to Google.
Yeah, with Twitter, the content just goes and it's gone.
So noisy.
Whereas with YouTube, and I've actually had people coming to me saying, I'm looking for a speaker at a sales conference or something, and I found your video on YouTube. So there's a longer life associated to the YouTube video, which is one of the reasons why I do podcasts and mix that up as well as write, and we try and create as much different types of content because Luke, my partner's 23-year-old, doesn't read. Doesn't read as much. He will go to YouTube. He'll go to YouTube for his answers. And I think, as the learning that we should share to people is actually you do need to mix up the content and video. I don't like video. I didn't grow up with it. It's something I've had to get used to. But video has a longer life.
Right. It does. And you're absolutely right. It's discoverable. You're building your library. You can go in there and update stuff. It's a fluid kind of living document when you do a video. And again, it's just reality. It's what you told me on the phone call. People are always going to be interested in people.
Yes.
And so the more stuff you put out, the better you get at it. You're rolling more dice every day, and you're increasing your odds of being discovered, being asked, being endorsed, getting put on the in a magazine, getting a book deal, getting an agent to call you, getting represented by a big label, an influencer reaching out. You're just rolling the dice and increasing your odds of blowing up.
The serendipity moment of, when we've all been in situations where we've walked down the corridor and someone says, Gary, you're just the person I need to talk to, and you'll be in a situation where as a real estater or wood person, that there is people go, that is the person I need to talk to. That is the solution to my problem.
That's it. And the more often you're out there, the more people see it, the more problems you can solve.
Absolutely. Right. Gary, it's been fascinating. Thank you for joining us in the car. And thank you for all your expertise and your advice. Really appreciate it. Remind everybody where they can find you again.
Yeah. Okay, so Blue Collar Consulting Group, like Blue Collar Consulting Group, at BCCG, which stands for Blue Collar Consulting Group, BCCG_Main, like Main Street. I'm everywhere. You can find me on Facebook,
and you're always
Instagram,
on there.
Twitter.
I can assure you. You respond within hours, not days
Absolutely.
Or weeks. Gary, fantastic. Have a good day.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. See you later.
Bye.